Right, today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. This is the meeting of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee. I am detecting a quorum with myself, Vice Chair Cash, Councilmember Druffel, Councilmembers Rutherford, Pro Tem Sepulveda, and Councilmember Weiner being present. Pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated section 844-112, time is reserved at the beginning of meetings for public comments. Seeing nobody signed up for public comment, we are going to go ahead and skip to resolutions on the agenda. I do have a consent agenda for us, which includes items number 1 and 2 on our agenda. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and read them into the record. Item number 1 is RS 2024-874, sponsor Weiner, a resolution honoring the life of Alice Zimmerman. And then RS 2024-875, a resolution recognizing sponsors Sepulveda, Coopin, Cortez, Porterfield, and others. A resolution recognizing John Overton High School alum Mookie Betts on winning the 3rd World Series.
Go Dodgers.
Do we? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? So we've got 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next we have RS 2024-874, sponsors Toombs and Vo, a resolution honoring Rosetta Miller Perry on the occasion of her 90th birthday. I do have a letter from Councilmember Toombs requesting a 1 meeting deferral. Do we have a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. The motion is on a 1 meeting deferral. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a 1 meeting deferral. Alright, next on our agenda is a late filed resolution by council members or chairs Porterfield and Toombs, a resolution accepting a grant from the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Information Technology Service Department to provide service related to the Broadband Connected Community Facilities Program. And I do have a letter from Chair Toombs requesting approvals. It reads, I am sponsor of the above referenced legislation that is on the committee's agenda. I am unable to attend this meeting, and I ask that the above legislation be approved, and we do have a copy of that here today, signed by Metro Legal as well as the Director of Finance and Chair Porterfield. Do you know the nature of this being late filed?
I believe that we have someone from ITS to speak to that.
Yes. Hi. If you could state your name for the record. And,
Yes, Pearl Amanfu. I'm the Digital Inclusion Officer for Metro Nashville in Davidson County.
Perfect. And are you? Do you know why this legislation was late filed, or
Yes.
the nature behind the late file?
Yes. So we were originally awarded this grant in May. It's the first grant of its type for the state and for us. And so it took the state several months to get the contracts out the door, and then we did receive the contract last month, but we had to send it back a few times because it needed some additional work. And so we just received the updated one.
Okay. And when was the contract finalized between Metro and the state?
Well, upon approval, but November 5th was when they submitted, and then this one just had a couple of corrections required.
Okay. And given that it's late filed, would it affect Metro ITS's operation at all if we took it up at our next regular meeting?
It would. Some aspects of the project have been on hold, waiting for the contract to be finalized. We did receive a notice to proceed. And so architecture and design on the facility, that was allowable, but there are some parts of construction now that are on hold, and timing on the project will be at risk if we hold it over to the next one.
Okay. Having heard the late filed nature of the legislation, is there any discussion from the committee? Seeing none, we will move to a vote on the late file nature. So the motion on the floor is to approve the late file resolution and a suspension of the rules on the resolution. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? So we've got 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next we move into board and commission appointees and nominees. Candidates in this category will appear before the Rules Confirmation and Public Elections Committee to determine the relative qualifications of the candidates. First up, we have the Health and Education Facilities Board nominees for 2 vacancies on the board with a term expiring on September 30th, 2030. First up, we have Ms. Kenya Payne, who is nominated by Councilmember Jacob Cooper. Is she present?
I'm here.
Hey. Welcome. Would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
Validation.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes,
And do you serve on any other Metro boards or commissions other than what you're being nominated to
I
today?
do that.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
I am someone who is looking to be an active participant in my community and my government. I have been a Nashville resident my entire adult life, and I've specifically worked in education for a nonprofit or focused on educational equity for public education schools for the past 8 years. And I believe that this board will allow me to extend the work that I do professionally and lend my skills as an asset to my community.
Thank you for that. And one thing that I do want to note for this particular nominee is that I firmly believe that she will absolutely be an asset on this board. I've known Kenya for almost 2-3 years now, and truly just ecstatic that you were nominated. So thank you for your willingness to serve and lend your expertise and experience to Nashville. So thank you for that. Any questions from the committee?
We won't hold you knowing him against you.
Oh, let's hope not. Okay. Let me see here, make sure that you've ticked all the boxes on here. Okay, seeing nothing from the committee, I guess we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the
You a shit.
next we have the nomination of Becky Sharp, nominated by Councilmember Berkeley Allen.
Hello.
Ms. Sharp, thank you for being here. Would you like a bus pass or a parking
Oh,
validation?
parking validation, thank you. Appreciate that.
Are you currently a Nashville resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being appointed to today? Okay, perfect. Tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
I've been on the board for 6 years, and it's been a privilege to serve my community. I also want to serve with this lovely lady we just met, so I got to get to know her, a rock star. So really, it's about serving Nashville, being a part of the process.
And you said that you're currently serving on this board?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. What are some of the things that you want to continue or seek to accomplish in this next term?
Having an open procedure where we can look at the projects that come forward. I'm very passionate about affordable housing, and it's been a delight to go see some of the projects that we've approved open up, and to see it gives me a chill, to see families and young people moving into Davidson County who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to live here, and be on a bus line and be able to walk to work. Just magnificent. We just need 1 million of them. So.
Yes, could not agree more. Any questions from the committee? Yes.
I just want to add, I don't know Ms. Sharp real well. It's been a while since I've seen you, but I do know you well enough that I know you are a champion for our public schools and so educational facilities, and I'm happy to support you for another term. I kind of want to ask, like, when it comes to what you all can approve, loans for or funding for, are there any things that come up that there's some gray areas to whether it kind of is your purview, and how do you handle that?
Sure, excellent question. So we will often confirm that the longevity of rental reduction, so if it's based on a percentage of someone's income, Sometimes the paperwork won't say how long, and so we'll vet that. We also want to know, is the builder truly in this for reasons they are coming forward and telling us they are, which sometimes we'll just vet that and go a little bit deeper. Especially if a project is being, like a motel is being rehabbed, we always want to find out where people are going to be housed during the rehab. And to make sure, especially families with children, are not coming home to a house being rehabbed and no place to go until the workers are out. And so we will go deep and ask them to approve it. And sometimes we'll ask them to come back because we're not sure about that.
Thanks.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Got 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your service.
Okay, next we have the Metro Action Commission appointment of Parvithi Santrush Kumar.
Hey, how's
Hey,
it going?
How did I do?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You can call me Parv.
Okay.
Makes it easier for everyone.
Okay.
Phonetically speaking.
I know, and I still messed it up.
Parvati.
Parvati, there we go.
But I go by Parv.
Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being appointed to?
No.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
I've been working at the intersection of education and economic mobility at the local level, at the national level, and globally for about the last decade. And I really believe that city leaders have an important role in kind of knitting together all of the resources in a community to, like, public, private, nonprofit, all towards how do we get young people and young adults and adults that are far from opportunity closer to opportunity. And this commission feels like the perfect opportunity to help Nashville do that better here, and so I'm excited about that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I'm aware of with Metro Action Commission is not necessarily the tension, but the differences of resources, specifically with early childhood education, with Metro Action Commission providing Head Start, and then MNPS providing a mirror of pre-K services. I guess my question is, how do you envision working with, being on the Metro Action Commission, how do you envision yourself working with MNPS to provide wider access to early childhood education?
That, like, cross-agency communication collaboration is such a critical piece of this. I mean, from a parent standpoint, like, it doesn't matter where the funding is coming from for your child's care, you just need to find the right program for your kid. And so trying to make the systems work better together so that people can access the programs that are relevant for them, that are in their community, that's what we should be striving for.
Anything from the committee?
I would just, having sort of been around it from a distance, is to take a look at potential partnerships that are already existing, such as Power Youth, for example. There's an opportunity to expand partnerships, to expand the number of youth that we're developing. So as you get involved in that, I think there's a huge opportunity to expand what we can do in there.
Absolutely.
Appreciate taking a look at that.
Anything further from the committee? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you have bus
Oh.
passes?
Yes, I do have a bus pass in my desk, so
Oh,
give me a moment. I'll
In
get
your
it.
pocket.
Yeah.
I could get it. I think we have forms, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Next is the Property Standards Appeals Board appointments of Sam, I'm so sorry,
Petulant.
Petulant?
Petulant.
Petulant,
Yes.
all right. Mr. Petulant, thank you for being here. Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being appointed to today?
No, I do not.
Okay. And would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
Parking validation would be great. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
Yes, sir. So for the last 5 years, I have a bit of a unique background as a social worker who ended up working with labor unions. I really believe in supporting working people, and I'm really excited to just be a part of getting back to the community, advocating. I really am in dialogue, not only with working people through my union experience, but also the community work. I began my career at the Central Labor Council of Middle Tennessee, which is kind of at the nexus of the union work that's happening in Nashville and community engagement and just general community work. I now work for a pre-apprenticeship program. I'm the executive director of Music City Construction Careers, which is a pre-apprenticeship program. So with that combination of just insight into what the people of Nashville, the working people, the working class people of Nashville need from their government, as well as the insight I've gained into the construction industry in technical skill training, I believe I'd have a good perspective and could really give back to the community in a positive way.
Perfect, thank you. One of the things that I think is going to be really important, especially close to January, will be this particular board, because one of the things that the incoming federal administration has discussed is lowering standards for construction and for homes and other parts of our infrastructure.
Sure.
I guess, given that context, how do you view your role in ensuring good standards for Nashville, even if the federal government is setting different subpar standards that don't meet what our community actually needs?
Yeah, sure. Whether it's my professional work, my personal self, or stuff on the political side, the people I serve are always going to be working people. The people I serve are always going to be the people that live here and the people that need to be protected by the government, the people that need things like building codes to make sure that unsafe structures aren't allowed to be rented out, to make sure that unsafe structures are repaired, to make sure that their neighborhoods don't become blighted due to negligence by owners of any sort, just making sure that our government is serving the broad base of working class people who make Nashville the beautiful city that it is.
Anything from the committee? All right, we'll go pro tem. Yeah.
First, so Sam is my constituent. So congratulations on living in the best district in the entire city. No, but I've known Sam for a couple of years now, and similar to Nate when he was here, was it the last meeting? All of the
2
days.
meetings ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
All of them run together now. But similar to Nate, when I was trying to help my nephew figure out what do you do after high school, I called Sam and Nate, and they sat down with him. And so he does have a passion and a knowledge for protecting workers and working class people. I think that will be very important for this board in particular going forward, especially with some of the things that will be brought up in just a couple of months, unfortunately. So, you know, having someone with a passion, and I do mean passion because I went to the MC3 graduation maybe 2 months ago, was it now, with along with council member Nash and Swara, and the way that Sam is able to connect with this community in particular it's hard to describe, and I've only seen a couple of people with an innate gift to be able to make connections and make things make sense, and to be able to have a person be able to speak to everyday people, I think is a powerful tool to have. And so I'm excited that you were willing to serve in this capacity. So I wholeheartedly give my support to Sam being appointed.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you. Your resume is extraordinary, and I think you're a great match for this. I want to ask you about something that just recently happened the past week or so, and it wasn't here in Nashville, but it really gave me pause to wonder about the intersection of Property Standards Board and the event that happened. We had a private home builder who had a construction crew, and one of the construction workers built his own scaffolding, and it fell out from under him, and he died, and he left a family behind. And that absolutely made me sick to think that does Nashville have the standards in place to protect our construction workers that we've discussed in the past, to make sure that this is not going to happen again anywhere, but we have the authority over Nashville. So what is your concept about how we might look towards that in terms of how do we help? How do we support these workers who might find themselves in a precarious position like that?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the answer is just governance that's accountable to those people. Governance and government that is representative of the people of the city, and not just the very small number of people. I want this board to be fair to owners of construction companies, obviously, but if there's anything that this board has power and influence over that is going to keep workers safe, that is going to keep residents of buildings safe, whether just patrons of businesses safe, whether it's issues of mold, whether it's issues of fire damage, whether it's structural damage, whether it's blight in the community, just making sure that the government of our city is accountable to the majority of its people and not just a small minority that may overextend its influence.
Great, thank you.
I just have to acknowledge Sam, because I've been going to your graduations for 3 years, and we've worked together on youth, and love your passion. Thanks for everything you do. Keep those MC3 graduations coming, and I've really enjoyed the time that I've seen you grow and do some great things.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. You deserve it.
Appreciate it.
Anything further from the committee?
I don't want to be too repetitive, but what other council members have said and what you said about yourself, I know that passion is sincere, and I'm glad that you're even more so after I've heard what you had to say about safety and community blight, and I'm glad that you're willing to serve on this, and I thank you for all that you've done leading up to it. Thank you.
All right. Seeing nothing further. Seeing nothing further from the committee, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Solid Waste Regional Board reappointment of Demita Beck-Taylor for a term expiring on December 15th, 2030.
She's not able to join.
For one meeting deferral.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded for a 1 meeting deferral. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a 1 meeting deferral. Next, we have also the Solid Waste Region Board appointment of Erica Dixie for a term expiring on December 15th, 2030.
We have to defer her as well. One meeting, please.
All right.
Second.
Got a motion for a 1 meeting deferral. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. So moving forward, we've got the Transportation and Licensing Commission appointment of Freddie Carr for a term expiring on November 5th, 2026. Start? Yes. Would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
I'd actually like to request two. My wife came as well. Thank you.
Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
I am.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being appointed to today?
I do not.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
I've actually served on this board for, I think, about 6 years. And we got some new members in, some new blood in. Actually run a business here in Nashville that deals with transportation as well, was how I originally got nominated to the board, I think back when Megan ran. And there's some things that kind of got left undone, and just looking at some of the new meetings, I think some seniority needs to be placed back on the board to kind of deal with some old problems that the new blood kind of doesn't know the history of. And that's my main reason of wanting to be back on the board, to kind of finish what I started.
Yeah.
Kind of started with when the scooters showed up in Nashville and the transportation blew up, and helped make a lot of rules and regulations to kind of rein that in. Thought it was right at the end, it was not, and some new blood got in there, and I think they need a little help.
Yeah. So what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that this commission is facing?
Growth. Growth. I mean, just no other word but growth. We've done a lot of studies since we were there. Nashville continues to grow. You know, our streets can't keep up with the population growth and the amount of cars and the amount of visitation to the city. It's great in a certain sense for the visitors, not so much for the people who live here. And that's who we're here to protect, not the people coming in and out, but the people putting roots down here.
The vehicles downtown and things are improved slightly, but what else do you think we still need to do to improve some of the different vehicles and buses and stuff?
Some improvements are already, I think, put in place, and we just haven't seen the effect of them. When I left, TDOT had done a study on traffic flow, and some improvements were made as far as the times that those vehicles can operate, where they can operate, how long they can operate, how many can be on the street. You know, when all that first started, it was, I hate to say it, it was a Wild West show down there, because we didn't have regulations in place, and people were coming from all over the country into Nashville, and just, I mean, we had limos with whirlpools in the back of them down there. I mean, we had houses being pulled down the street. It was, and I think we've made a lot of headway in only allowing the companies that actually had the finances and the means to do it properly and safely, and still have an effect on the community. As far as we do have visitors here, and we are an entertainment city. You know, we're a music city. A certain amount has to be levied on either side, the investment of the people who are providing that and the people who actually live there. And I think we're getting there. But like anything that big, it's, you know, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You kind of sift through it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your willingness to step back in.
Yeah.
It's a big job. It's an important commission for you to be on. I guess my primary question is, how does your work background, your avocation work that you've done, connect you to this particular board? What is it in particular about that brings you to have a dedicated interest in this board? Because there's no resume, so I don't know a lot about your work history.
So
and how that
since
connects.
'03, I have run a logistics company that we are in the downtown corridor a lot, as well as all the other corridors around. So I have trucks that are on the road that are making deliveries and have to navigate the streets of Nashville. And so how that flows directly affects me, as well as I'm just, okay, like something needs to be done about this. This is, you know, there's 20 buses right here, and I can't even get this customer his product, which is bringing the livelihood downtown, because there's 10 pedal taverns right here. That's too many.
Thank you. Perfect.
Anything further from the committee?
Are the horse-drawn carriage folks behaving themselves?
You know, that kind of took care of itself, because there used to be a plethora of them, and now it's maybe one left.
And there was some drama there too. I know.
A lot of drama.
That
A lot of
you all
drama.
had to sort through. I
Appreciate
appreciate you. You're
No
doing
problem.
that.
No problem.
Yeah, here's the thing, if you don't love drama, you're picking the wrong
Oh,
spot.
well. mom's one of 13, big family, so.
Anything further from the committee? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Got 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next to the same commission, we've got the reappointment of Patrick McNally for a term expiring on November 5th, 2026. Mr. McNally, would you like a parking validation? Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
I am.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being reappointed to here
I do
today?
not.
Tell us a little bit about why you want to continue serving.
Well, I think Commissioner Carr stole part of my thunder. I was appointed into the Carl Dean administration, and I've served about 12 years now. And I think what I can bring is continuity and a historical perspective. As Commissioner Carr said, well, we're a commission of 9 people, and this year I was elected chairperson. 7 of them are relatively new, and the director of the Transportation Licensing Commission is new, and the director of NDOT is relatively new. There's been times when people have appeared in front of us for hearings, and I know things that happened 10 years ago that other folks don't know. Frankly, I guess if you've served 12 years, it might be time to, one might say, it might be time to rotate off, and I thought about that this year, but I believe I can be of service to the commission as well as to the community, but also to the commission by being there that can bring some historical perspective as well as continuity while other members become more seasoned. The other thing is, and it was mentioned to me, I'm a lawyer by trade, and our commission gets sued a lot. I believe I can help guide us to make sure that when we make decisions, we put on the record a rational basis for that. Often our standard is public necessity and convenience, and I try to make sure that any motion that's made to either grant or deny something has a rational basis to it so it can be defended by Metro Legal in the courts, in Chancery Court. Most of them are in Chancery Court. I really feel like I can be of service to the commission for another few years.
Sold me. Anything from the committee? Seeing none.
I tell you, on the horse-drawn carriages, Gary Blackburn, who represented one of them, really brought everybody together. And whether you like Gary or don't or whatever, but he really brought them together to start resolving their disputes outside of our hearings. Because when I started, we had the horse-drawn carriages and their drama. We had the taxi cabs and their drama. And we had record services. And then I watched it go where we got the Uber Lyft issues, we got the scooter issues, we got the e-bike issues, we got the pedal carriages, pedal taverns, pedal everything. And we fought with the state because every time we did something and the folks weren't happy, they lobbied up at the state and took it away from us as Uber. One of the dangers in our community right now is I have no idea how many Uber Lyft vehicles are serving or running around Nashville right now. Uber Black is still in front of us because Uber Black requires them to come and get a background check and everything else. But we could have 3,000 Uber Lyft vehicles running around Nashville, and we can't do anything about it. We can't regulate vehicles for hire that are on our streets there. And our the number of cabs has gone down significantly. We had 1,300 at one time. We're now down to about 450, 500. They're replaced with Uber Lyft. But I'll tell you, I would never use, I'm going to say it out loud, I always use Uber Black because I know they've been screened. So that's my 2 cents.
I ask about, if I may,
Yeah.
the horse-drawn carriages. One reason I was, about 10 years ago, president of a neighbor association. We did a carriage tour around the holidays for our annual fundraiser for about 6 years. And one year, one of the companies we didn't hire was going to sue us for operating carriages without a license, where we hired the company that had the license, and we were just the, organizer of the event, and it was strange.
It's chilled out.
Good.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being willing to continue to lend your expertise. I think you're going to be an amazing asset.
Thank you.
Anything further from the committee? Okay. We'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Got 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have the wastewater hearing authority appointment of Jennifer Daub for a term expiring on December 3rd, 2026. All right, Ms. Daub, would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
Validation, please.
Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than the one you're being appointed to?
No.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
Up until this past spring, I worked for TDEC, the Division of Water Resources. I was the director for the Division of Water Resources for the last 6 years, but my first 13 years with the division, I was in the pretreatment program, which oversees the programs. We oversaw Metro Water's pretreatment program, which regulates what industries discharge to wastewater treatment plants. And so I have 25 years, well, more than 25 years of experience in wastewater.
Well, read through it, right, just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Half the package, yes, you okay.
And so on one level, I have seen very, very good and very, very bad programs across the state. I have always been very proud in the 25 years that I've lived in Nashville to say that Metro Nashville has a great program and Metro Water does very, very well. I appreciate the people that I work with here in Metro, and I think they deserve to have folks on the board that understand the program and that support the really good work that they do that's often underappreciated.
Yes. Thank you very much. I guess one question that I have, and this is just out of a point of personal curiosity, is what do you see any effects of climate change on our wastewater facilities and how we administer cleaning our wastewater?
Yes, we are seeing more droughts and more floods. Tennessee's expecting to see both in the coming years. Sometimes in the same year, we'll have droughts and we'll have floods, and those impact collection systems quite a bit. I know Nashville has been spending quite a bit of money on the collection system to rehab it, but it's one of those things, it's like potholes. You just have to constantly do maintenance, and but yes, we will see more stress on that. We will see more stress on with just new pollutants of concern too, with PFAS. All of those parameters will be a challenge not only for our drinking water but for our wastewater plants.
Thank you. And then, is there any concern, sort of on the same vein of climate changes, is there any concern that you've seen either with Metro or across the state with the way that wastewater is being administered and the potential for it to affect or cause like algae blooms within our water system or water table?
Wastewater treatment plants are a contributor to nutrients into our streams. They are not as large of a contributor as agriculture. We have numbers for what's happening in Tennessee. We have certain watersheds where it is more of a, especially when you have a larger wastewater treatment plant, right? And bigger cities, and so it necessitates more flow. And so we do see opportunities, I think, for there to be some improvements in the nutrients that are being discharged. In fact, one of the things that we were doing when I left the state was we've started a program where we were doing nutrient optimization, and we're working with cities and offering, the state is, no longer we, but the state is offering some free consulting for cities. Now, I will say Nashville took advantage of this a few years ago, but there's still opportunities, I think, to improve in most cities.
Perfect, thank you. I think your institutional knowledge is going to be absolutely invaluable, so thank you for your willingness to serve. Anything from the committee?
I probably need a referral to somebody at TDEC, the Clean Flat Creek in Bellevue, but we'll talk about that.
We can talk, yes.
Perfect. Seeing nothing further from the committee, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
No.
Any opposed? Any not voting? We've got 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next, for the also for the wastewater hearing authority appointment of Katie Duray. for a term expiring on December 3rd, 2026. Would you, Mr. A, would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
Parking validation, please. Thank you.
And are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes, sir.
And do you serve on any other committees other than, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Duray? Would you, do you?
Oh, you're very kind. I
Yes.
don't go by doctor.
Oh. Do you, do you serve on any other boards or commissions?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay, perfect. Tell us a little bit about why you want to serve.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really humbled by the expertise of the prior visitor because I don't have that. But I was made aware of this opportunity by a friend who works for Metro Water. And it was really interesting to me because my dad, when I was really little, was the director of the Water and Sewer Authority of the county, the small county where I grew up in South Carolina, and so it piqued my interest. So I attended their last hearing. I thought, this is really great. I want to do this. I feel like my career and why I've been successful as a trust officer and a fiduciary officer is sort of bringing people with competing interests together and finding the best way forward that's really in the best interest of the most people.
Thank you. And seeing, I think that having legal experience is invaluable to all of our boards and commissions, so I'm all for attorneys being on things and taking over the governing bodies of things. I'm an attorney as well. So. Yeah, nobody would have ever guessed. But so I guess sort of I can envision the scenarios where your legal expertise will definitely be of value, but sort of want to hear from you about how you think that your legal experience could be an asset to this particular board as it relates to issues of riparian rights and things like that.
Sure, absolutely, and I will be the first to say that I don't have experience in riparian rights. My expertise is tax, but it is a way of thinking about systems and systems that are meant to benefit, a whole society, smaller, bigger, bigger. And I like to think about it that way. This is a system that was built to service the health and needs of our whole community. And, we think about consumers of that system and people who contribute to that system. And so I think that sort of systems thinking, and again, I would go back to my experience with, bringing together people of competing interests and needs to find a way forward is where I feel like I can contribute.
Perfect, thank you. Anything from the committee? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Got 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next to the same authority, we've got the reappointment of Mr. Jay Taints for a term expiring on December 3rd, 2026.
Watch out for this one.
Yes.
Sorry?
I said, watch out for this one.
Yes, I've been watching from the background.
He is in a great district.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's got friends in another district.
Yeah. Would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
Parking, please.
Okay. And are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being reappointed to?
No.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about why you want to continue to serve.
Let's see, I have worked in the water and sewer industry for 30-plus years. I've served on this authority since the Dean administration. I would jokingly say that our outgoing chairperson voluntold me to reapply. Leaned on me a little bit, but it's a great authority to serve on. There's not a lot of drama, like what you've heard from others here tonight. It's a lot of oversight, a lot of reading, but the Water and Sewer Department staff does a great job of resolving issues before they have to come before the authority. On occasion, there is a bad actor that just doesn't want to play, and we have to support staff.
Since you're being reappointed, what would you say is one of the challenges that you all have faced previously that you might want to try and address in your new term?
We want to continue to support staff. There's a few lingering industries that continue to cause problems. Somebody spoke to his experience being valuable because he knows the history. And I think that's where maybe some of my strength comes from. But I think continuing to deal with those tough industries and keep them in check. Again, most industries, great.
Yeah.
But you have that occasional one that they'll get into line for a little bit, and then they start trying to find that boundary again.
Yeah.
Supporting staff to help keep that boundary defined.
Perfect. Anything from the committee?
I just have to say, I have worked with this man since 2011, since I was first elected to council in Bellevue, maybe even before that. And you can't find a better authority in this space with the engineering background and the people skills, and we had to deal with one you got
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes.
And just everything is finite insofar as we're not going to bend the rules, because when you bend these particular rules, people can get hurt and sick. And so I cannot speak highly enough about what Jay brings
Thank you.
to us.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the reappointment of Robert Wingfield for a term expiring on December 3rd, 2026 for the same authority. Mr. Wingfield, thank you for being here. Would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
Parking validation. Okay, thank you.
Are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other boards or commissions other than what you're being reappointed to here
No.
today? Okay. Tell us a little bit why you want to continue serving.
Well, it's been a beautiful experience. I've been serving on this board for about 27 years. Okay, and Metro Water is just a top-notch organization, and I love supporting them in what they're doing and using my knowledge to increase the effectiveness. And I find that my knowledge in chemistry and environmental chemistry is very helpful in resolving some of the issues that do come up. It's just beautiful to work with an organization that's really focused on improving the health and welfare of the city and looking out for the city and its residents, because those are things that I value.
So, Dr. Wingfield, what would you say, because you have a wealth of experience, what would you say has been the most rewarding or best part of having served on this board thus far?
Well, as I said, I think the most rewarding thing has been able to make a contribution to the health and welfare of the city. Okay, that I think has been most rewarding.
Anything from the committee? Yes.
Yeah, just one, more of a comment than a question, but sir, you're from a great council district in the southeast, and we're really glad that you want to remain involved, and I appreciate you greatly. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is the first time that I've reviewed one of these resumes and had patents listed on it.
I was going to say,
yeah.
and that is not easy to do. So, wow.
Thank you.
I am, yes, thoroughly impressed. And thank you for your willingness to continue serving. Anything else further from seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? We've got 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Dr. Wingfield, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we move to board and commission confirmations. Candidates in this category will be subject to a recommendation vote by the Rules Confirmation and Public Elections Committee and confirmation by the council. I believe we have previously interviewed all of the individuals within this section. We'll take them up by consent. Is there anybody wishes to remove from consent? Okay, seeing none, I'll read it into the record really quickly. The Community Correction Advisory Board appointment of Joshua Brand for a term expiring on October 22nd, 2026. Community Corrections Advisory Board appointment of Donna Grayer for a term expiring on October 22nd, 2026. The Community Corrections Advisory Board appointment of Marcus Shute Jr. for a term expiring on October 1st, 2026. The Community Corrections Advisory Board appointment of Jarrell Summers for a term expiring on October 22nd, 2026. Community Corrections Advisory Board appointment of Joe Umberger for a term expiring on October 22nd, 2026. Community Review Board appointment of Heather Meschel for a term expiring on October 31st, 2027. Community Review Board appointment of Walter Searcy for a term expiring on October 31st, 2026. Health Authority Board reappointment of Frank Stevenson for a term expiring on July 7th, 2029. Property Standards Board, Property Standards and Appeals Board appointment of Naima Fierce for a term expiring on October 17th, 2028. Property Standards and Appeal Board appointment of Katie Martin for a term expiring on October 4th, 2028. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Okay, next we move to the last portions of our agenda. Metro Council Rules and Procedures proposed changes. First, we have proposed amendment to Rule 13.4 by Councilmember Coopin. Proposed amendment to Rule 13.4 of the Rules of Procedure of the Council. It amends the rule to read as amended. No resolution amended or substituted substitute submitted after these prescribed deadlines will be considered by council except on an emergency basis. It is not the responsibility of the council office to prepare late filed legislation. Councilmember Coopin, you are recognized.
Thank you for recognizing me, Chair, and appreciate the opportunity to have y'all discuss this. I've got 2 rule changes before y'all tonight. These are not emergencies. They don't have to happen tomorrow, so if there's a discussion or thoughts about deferring, I'm happy to entertain that as well. This particular rule change, and I recognize that we came from a place before I was on council where there were lots and lots of late filed resolutions, and it kind of became a burden on this committee. And I respect and recognize that. I do think that since that rule change has been made, we found ourselves in a couple of difficult situations where council members, including myself, were making cases for late filed resolutions due to kind of urgent situations, and where is that line? And Councilman Sepulveda and I have talked about the line being, Nazis or not Nazis, right? But that's a hard position to put the committee in. And, we had one where it was Reverend Lawson and, well, he's coming to town and we need to do it and it's timely and all that. So what this would do is take us back to where folks can put that forward on a late filed basis. This committee, of course, would deliberate it, and then the floor, you'd have to move to suspend the rules on the floor. So there's still some check and balance. If it became a free-for-all again, I think there's always the opportunity to bring this back. I would hope that our colleagues would be diligent enough to respect that, and I do think that as a body of the public, we will find ourselves in situations where something happens, both positive or negative, where we want to timely recognize it at the next meeting versus having to wait till the following meeting. So I'm open to y'all's feedback and thoughts, but appreciate the consideration.
Pro Tem?
Yeah.
No, skip her.
No, come to me. Okay, two things. I guess my first question is, what emergency basis would you think that we've missed?
Can you ask that again?
Like you're saying considered by council except on emergency basis. So we're talking about like being able to bring forward late file legislation that we would be responsible of creating because the
council office would not.
What do you feel since the rule change
Yeah.
that we've missed in that period?
I don't know if we've missed necessarily. I know there was one of our colleagues was very frustrated that the Nazi resolution, for example, was allowed kind of as an exception, and then James Lawson was allowed as an exception, and then one of our colleagues I know tried to bring something forward and was told no by the council office and was kind of frustrated at the inconsistency.
Yeah, I guess my frustration was with this committee because I voted no on the Lawson one, right? So I've been consistent on Nazis is the bar, right? If we're going to be speaking out against racist people and Nazis, that's the minimum bar. There are absolutely people that need to be recognized, and it has always been my opinion that if we can't file a resolution in time to do a proclamation, and that's why I voted no on the Lawson thing. So even I stood on that. I don't think that the Rules Committee has a great track record of saying no, right? And this is why there have always been throughout the years late filed resolutions that we've then had to go and suspend the rules on the council floor, which, let me tell you, is gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again because that is the nature of politicians, because we wanna recognize people and people do deserve their flowers, but there are absolutely tools that we do not utilize enough, and we are not the most timely people, to say the least. We all have a bunch of things going on, and so I would be hesitant to go back to that, because honestly, like, I feel like Don Quixote, like trying to, like on a mission to teach the council to not file late resolutions, and not just the council members, but department heads don't bring late legislation, and why is it filed late, right? I think we need to be consistent in this, and I think we've gotten to a point where we have made progress, and for the most part have been consistent, except for, I wanna say these 2 times, and the consistency, well, 3 times, and one of those was not consistent with, like, the bar. And granted, that bar was like, me saying that, we do have an entire committee, I just don't trust us to be able to stick to that.
Chair.
Yes.
For me, emergency means in the interest of the public health and safety. Nazis fall in there, right? Not sure that James Lawson necessarily fell in there, so I'm in this camp. If we can amend it to provide the Rules Committee with the criteria that emergency means in the interest of public health and safety, then I think we have a standard. That would give us more consideration that the Rules Committee would do the right thing consistently, and that may solve the problem.
I would ditto that. The context of public health and safety is a great criteria, I think, to frame an exception, and so I would ditto what my colleague right now.
Can I late file an amendment? Just kidding.
Can you bring it back amended?
It's not just gonna hit me.
I'm having a thought.
You need a light.
He's a lawyer with a thought.
I'm gonna slide back for this one.
Well, because I think that the committee brings up a very important point of it, sort of just establishing those standards, and so I think it might be beneficial to defer this to provide an opportunity to maybe establish a working group to look at what those standards would be.
Yeah.
So that was my thought. Nothing. I don't have a long exegesis on this, but yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, Chet, I appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback, and I agree with everything that was said. We don't want to open up the doors for a free for all, and oops, I forgot to, do this resolution for this person in my district that's doing an awesome job at something. I'm just going to late file it. I think that's not my intention, and I appreciate the feedback of trying to create those criteria, and I'd be supportive of a deferral to do that. I'm in that same camp. My goal is more so for health, safety, major events, major incidents, something that happens where the body would agree that it is something that we want to recognize right now. If God forbid there was a horrible incident yesterday, and now we're here today as a body, we want to do something to condemn it or whatever. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. Maybe from a celebratory perspective too, depending on what that is. But I'd be supportive of a deferral to talk about that.
How long would you like?
I would ask the committee how much time they would need to feel good about it.
Oh, with
We're
holidays.
right in the middle of the holidays.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, can I ask a question? Margaret, are we binding our hands by limiting this to public health and safety? Can you think of any circumstance that would rise to the level of an emergency beyond that?
The way the rule is currently written, it's up to the sponsor to determine the nature of the emergency. So if the sponsor, comes and says something about public health and safety or what have you, then the sponsor has to, demonstrate the emergency and then why this can't wait till the next meeting. There are actually 3 things that the sponsor has to do. Sorry, I just flipped away from this rule. Disclose the nature of the emergency, whether it could have been timely filed. I think that's probably the easiest question on these. And then whether the matter can wait until the next meeting. And so I think the emergency element is both what is the subject matter of the emergency and the timeliness of waiting until the next meeting. Is it really such an emergency that we have to deal with it in today? Because oftentimes in the past, in the last term, these would come up on the Monday before a council meeting. Something happened over the weekend, and that Monday, the requests come in to late file something. And so we get something to be late filed, and then it's heard on that Tuesday. So does it have to be heard so quickly? Like, how is the emergency demanding quick attention, basically? I think that we could potentially go through and define emergency, but then that would kind of beg the question of, is it an emergency for non-binding resolutions, or do we have a separate level of emergency for, contracts that need to be quick approval for whatever reason? I think there's a lot of discussion if we're gonna get into the granular nature of emergency.
Yeah.
I think January.
That'd be a 3-meeting deferral.
Yeah, to get it in January.
Yeah, that gives us time to.
Would a 3-meeting deferral result in an indefinite deferral?
I need a second to think about that. Another rule.
Opening the can of worms. Appreciate the recognition, Chair. And as I'm hearing that, the word that comes to mind for me is, public interest, right? So I wonder if it's not just an emergency, but is it in the best public interest to do this now versus can it wait from that lens, right? Does the public need to hear from us because this horrific thing happened, or can the public, wait to celebrate this milestone? Or so just a thought, not fully formed as we explore this.
And I think, Director Darby, something else to contemplate is that if we hold the calendar as it is, the first Tuesday in January would be the 3rd.
There's no meeting the first Tuesday, so it would be on the 21st. And I do believe, just from quick math in my head, which I don't rely on often, I think that's over 60 days. If it is a deferral longer than 60 days, then when it's back on the agenda, it gets an automatic 1-meeting deferral.
Unless you withdraw and refile.
That would be a smart thing to do.
And that's true for rules, not just ordinances and resolutions.
That is for ordinances and resolutions. We often treat rule amendments like a resolution. But
So is there any downside to him?
Maybe there's an argument to be made that rule doesn't apply to rule amendments. So.
The rule doesn't apply to the rule.
Well, it doesn't apply to automatic deferrals.
Yeah, no, I think that you raise a good point, that the rule does say any ordinance or resolution that has been deferred longer than 60 days. So.
I don't think a rule applies. I think a rule is different.
Do we need a ruling on the rule? So
This
who said that was recorded. Anyway,
So is the purpose of this, I'm sorry, is the purpose, because I got here late, and I apologize. Is the purpose of this just to cut down on the number of late filed resolutions, or late filed stuff? No, it's not?
It's the other direction.
Slightly
Slightly direction.
expanding them.
Right now, there's,
It's so that we don't have an inconsistency in the way we apply the ability to allow a late filed resolution for one thing and not allow it for something else. And it's more check and balance, maybe?
Right. It's so that if there's, God forbid, an awful incident that happened yesterday and we felt that the public needed to hear from us in a resolution manner, we'd have a mechanism to do it, and this committee's not being the arbiter of, is that bad enough or not?
And so I suggested it be maybe emergency defined as in the interest of public health and safety. And so then we went down a rabbit hole talking about.
Is it in the interest of public health and safety to say we are for or against? I mean, like really?
Well, again, we need criteria because part of the concern is that rules sometimes doesn't do things equivalently that are probably equivalent. And just to give us a little bit more direction.
I don't know why we don't have these non-binding resolutions be, when you're honoring something or like whatever, to that be a proclamation. I don't know why it needs to be on the agenda at all, to be honest with you, and that way you get rid of whatever and it's a proclamation. If you want to sign on to it, great. If you don't, whatever, and it's on record, but we can move on because that's the bulk of what holds up our meetings, and we're not doing, like, we got business to handle. And we're sitting here talking about a rule thing about, well, if something bad happens or if something whatever, and the public needs to hear from us. No, they don't. The public needs to do our jobs. So I would have all this be a proclamation and then problem solved.
I think we could increase proclamations differently.
Chair Evans.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about, there was a discussion, I think, and I don't know where I heard it from, about that we don't currently track proclamations, or they're not searchable in Legistar. And I don't know, is that something that's being worked on?
Yes, so they're currently not searchable in Legistar. What we have done is created a tracking spreadsheet that is on our SharePoint it's not under council resources, it's under legislative resources, and this is something I think we're probably gonna be talking about at the next executive committee.
Okay.
But it's under legislative resources and proclamations that have been issued since October of this year. We have been doing a digital version as well, and you would be able to see that digital version online as well. So from the tracking spreadsheet, you can click on a link and it'll take you to it. And can I say one other thing about the proclamations tracking sheet? It only goes back to October of last year. We don't plan on going back any further to track.
Sure.
I was just gonna say, I tend to agree with Councilmember Johnston about, if we wanted to really look at making a change, that would be a huge change. I think that would improve our efficiency.
I will file that as a real change. We can discuss it, Director Darby.
Email me.
I will email you.
All right, so
Aside from that, though, if
Yeah.
I may, wouldn't Councilmember Copeland, though, be best served by withdrawing and
Right.
refiling?
would that provide for the opportunity for y'all to discuss it and share thoughts for an amended version, or how would that? If I withdraw it and refile the same thing, we're back in the same place.
I think what Director Darby will advise you to do is put it on Council Connect for us to be able to discuss.
That would be smart.
You can put it on Council Connect if you want to have discussions outside the court, outside the scope of a open meeting. If Chair wanted to have a special meeting to discuss rule amendments, that's Chair's option.
I'll look at the calendar and I'll consider calling a special meeting sometime in December to discuss this.
Or January.
Probably January.
No special meeting in December.
23rd.
Unless you're inviting
10 o'clock at
someone
night.
else, too.
I'd like to defer this to the second meeting in December, please.
So yeah, with that being said, Councilmember Coopin, we'll take up both of your proposed rule changes at this moment. If you wish to make a recommendation or withdraw.
Well, I have an idea. Since it has to be, if it's more than 60, oh, it wouldn't be more than 60 days if we deferred it to the second meeting in December.
Would not be.
So then that doesn't count.
We missed the first week in January.
Yeah. Well, then I was gonna say if it
Just
has to be
defer it, yeah.
deferred, then it would be deferred to what we're trying to defer it to anyway. But if it doesn't meet the 60-day threshold, then.
Oh, but you could defer it and defer it again.
I'm sorry, so the 60-day rule does apply to rule changes or only to resolutions or ordinances?
That's for us to
It would be
decide.
great if we had a rule
Oh.
that said all rules had to be deferred for one meeting before being approved, but we don't have that.
Courtney's gonna add that to her list.
Yeah.
I'll add that one
They
up.
have to be deferred indefinitely first.
Special meeting would be
We
valuable.
have
Yeah.
generally
Yeah.
scheduled a special meeting when discussing rules changes.
I would do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should do something.
Yeah, so I will,
Include these.
I'll work with the council
January.
office and with you for scheduling one for special meeting in.
In January, to discuss both.
Yes,
Works for me.
so. Procedurally, I'm unclear as to what our next step should be, whether or not Councilmember Coogan should withdraw or.
No,
I think that the ruling that I would be willing to make is that Rule 43.4 does not apply to rule proposals, and that the Rules Committee has the ability to, hear it later, and the council would have the ability to, have it placed back on the agenda without the automatic deferral.
With
I
that being,
would-
go ahead.
I would move or recommend, or we're just talking here, that you withdraw them both.
yeah, I'm
And that way we don't have to worry about,
discussion on the floor.
discussion on the floor and,
Yeah.
and I think we just withdraw it and.
I'm happy to do that, especially since these two are sitting right before the topic of the evening on the agenda. I'm happy to just say withdraw, because that will move that along much more quickly, and then work with Chair on a special called meeting to discuss these and other rules.
That's the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so we'll recognize that both of these have been withdrawn. With that, we come down to the adjournment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved and properly seconded without objection, we do now stand adjourned.